Okay, so today we'll be doing a detailed ball cap tutorial. Hey, so first I'm gonna go in with the Ebin adhesive spray, and I'm just gonna use that to lay my edges flat, push them back out of the way so that you can get a smooth melt or glue down when you are applying. So you're gonna dry that on cold air. Anything that you're doing when you're applying a wig cap, you're always going to use cold air. Cold air, I cannot stress that enough. Okay, so now as you can see, my edges are laid back, and now is the important part. It's an HD wig cap. Make sure you have an HD wig cap. That is how you're gonna get that flat and smooth ball cap method, because it's super thin and it blends perfectly into the skin, and it takes less work to smooth the edges out. So you're going to make sure that you put that on your head, and you're going to push it back just to make sure that none of your hairs came forward when you were putting it on. Make sure that your ears are also covered as well, because we're going to be cutting the hole out. Now make sure that you are cutting behind the ear, behind the hair, the ear. You're gonna see why that is very important in a second. So I'm using a small scissors and I'm cutting behind my ear, and then I'm going to push my earlobes through. No, I do not need a bigger hole, because the bigger the hole, the bigger the rip is. You notice that the cap is ripping behind the ear, which is why it is very important to cut behind the ear, because you don't want the ripping to happen in front of the ear, because that is going to affect laying down the edges of the wig cap. So any ripping that is taking place will take place behind the ear, and it will not affect the install of the wig cap. Now, why this is important to push your ear through is because that is going to allow the wig cap to lay very flat. And as you can see there, we have the ripping and everything is happening behind the hair. Now we're going to go back in with our Ebin adhesive spray. I like to use the one in the black, and it's just my preference. You can use the red one as well. So now I'm going to use my finger to control, because it can get a little bit messy. So just use your fingers to control where the adhesive spray is going, so it doesn't roll or run too far down your forehead, because it is going to be very difficult to peel back, because as you saw before, oh bless you, as you saw before, it is an HD cap, which means it's very thin, which means it's going to be very hard to peel back. Now again, cold air, can't stress this enough. We're going to dry that on cool, and you're going to just make sure that you're dry until there is no tackiness at all. Make sure that it is completely dry. Now, very important, I am cutting from the ear down to the rim, but I am not, I repeat, I am not cutting the rim of the wig cap. This is very important, and you'll see why. So I'm cutting around the rim from ear to ear, and yeah, make sure that I am taking away all that. So now you're gonna feel a little bit of a release, because it was pretty tight before. Now this is why it's important. You're gonna roll back the rim. The rim is what's going to keep, and as you can see, I had a little piece left back there at the ear. The rim is what's going to be keeping the back of the cap from lifting up, so that is why it's important. As you can see, even though I cut the rim of the front of the wig cap, the back of the wig cap is still laying down. Now we're going to remove all that excess wig cap. So as you can see, I told you before, because it's a HD cap, it's very hard to peel back. So just make sure that you control how far your adhesive spray is going. So I'm using that small scissors, and I am just cutting away all that excess wig cap. To be quite honest, I could have cut this a little bit closer. I could have cut this so that you don't have to go back in with anything else. However, I know that it's not going to be the case for a beginner, which is why I am doing it a little bit messy on purpose, to show you guys that even when your wig, the edges of your wig cap are looking like this, I'm going to show you how to get that flawless melting of the edges of the wig cap. So just make sure that you cut as close as possible. Be careful not to nip your skin. Anywhere where you see that, just make sure that you peel it back to where you want the cap to stop. And when you are satisfied with all that, now you're gonna just trim any little fuzzes that you may have. Make sure that when you're at the ears area, your cap is not too far down, that when you put on your frontal, the cap will be showing. So just make sure that you think about that. So now we're going to go in. This is the important part. Every part is important, but the bold hold active, the one that says active, the pink one, you're going to take a little bit on a rat tail comb, and we are going to be pulling or pressing the wig cap forward. And when you're pulling it forward, you're pressing it into the skin, and this is what's going to give you that that flawless edge on the wig cap. And on cold air, glue, adhesive, whatever you're doing, it's always going to be cold air. Now I'm going in with a foundation. I like to use one at least a shade or two darker than my skin tone because it blends better, and I am brushing that forward. Everything that you're doing, once that wig cap is down, you want to brush forward because you don't want any lifting and you do not want any peeling. So that's just what I'm doing here, and just use a little and just build up. Don't go in with a lot. I like to put it on the back of my hand first. And there you have it, my wig cap, my bald cap method, guys. And as you can see, the back is still laid and everything is looking fine. Now there's no issues to get a flawless install.